So Emmanuel was the name previous to what they perceive as Jesus. That was never Jesus, was just a
The
fictitious.
story of Isis and Horus told to us by a fiction writer by the name of Josephus Flavius. It's just that when the Constantinian Nicene Council got a hold of it, they had to try to figure out how to separate the mother, the most important character in the Bible, away from the son. So they give all the glory to the son, and it's going to piss the son off because you denying his mama was rightfully hers.
That's right.
And they teaching these people to follow Emmanuel under the mama name Isis, but they gave it a J in order to confuse the mind and the psyche. But when they gave it the J, they called it the fish hook, because I shall make you fisher of men. And ain't no man gonna catch more men than a woman. Let that sink in. Ain't no man gonna catch more men than a woman.
Y'all, you gotta please give a 13 to the, oh my God, this is amazing. I never
13 is the
saw that.
queen mother's seal, the mother of the
That's right.
king.
That's right.
But the king had to emerge as a prince first before he ascended the throne as the king. And there is no man that's a kingmaker. Every kingmaker is a woman.
Absolutely. Yes.
You can't be the king unless you crown by the woman. Go back and look at David when he was laying in his deathbed and one of his sons declared himself the king. And Bathsheba came to him and said, you know, your son that ran around out there, he think he done just took over, you still living. And it offended David. And David said, well, what do you reckon I should do? He said, you should crown Solomon. He the wisest of them all. So David called all of his staff in there and say, when I cross over, I'm leaving the throne to Solomon. It can be even you can even go back before that. When Esau and Jacob was wrestling over the birthright in the womb and they came out, the mama took side with Jacob, but the rightful heir was Esau. Esau mean earthborn.
Hmm.
Jacob mean underminer,
Hmm.
right? So the mother dressed the Jacob up because Isaac was blind. He put her on a fur coat and she cooked Esau's soup that he cooked for his father. And it tasted just like his soup. So who he learned to cook it from? And she sent Jacob in with his fur coat on and a bowl of soup to get the blessing from his father to run the kingdom. But he had to pretend to be Esau.
Mm.
It goes back before that. In the Adam and Eve story, when Cain slew Abel, right? Cain slew Abel out of jealousy, but what was he jealous for? He was the one who came with the meat because he was a farmer and he was a herdsman, and Abel was the farmer who grew the vegetables. And they liked the vegetables more than they liked the meat, so it offended Cain. So he caught his brother in the field and killed him.
Mm.
Right. So then the Eve prayed according to the text, and she was given Seth.
Yes.
Right. And she said, today we will call his name Seth, for the Lord has granted my prayer and gave me a replacement for Abel. It's all in there.
I think, there was a debate. It wasn't really a debate. You would have been the appropriate person to deal with some people who had some biblical information, but you would have been the appropriate um, participant in such a conversation. You've gotten information like for days, just archives. Just, it's amazing.
Yeah. The reason I don't do debates for two reasons. One is I got to use somebody else as a reference.
Absolutely.
And
I,
most of the people that we reference is secret society. Second one is
mm,
when you
mm,
tell somebody you getting information from a psychic source, you automatically invalid.
absolutely. They always say it's not even legitimate. Yeah.
Because we can't cross-reference psychic information. We can only cross-reference what somebody else said a long time ago.
Hmm.
Right? Then you got to go by it. Even if you use modern judicial standards, the courts tell you eyewitnesses are not always reliable.
Not at all.
You have
Perspective.
20 people watch the same event and they gonna give you 20 different stories.
Absolutely.
So how do I
Perspective.
know who to accept as an accurate source? If it's not a direct source, it's not accurate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, when you go look at the history of the Bible, ask yourself who wrote it and how do you know who wrote it?
No one was there to reference
Nope.
it.
Nobody's here that was there to tell us who wrote it,
Yeah. We have
right?
to listen to those styrofoam cups and listen to the general consensus of each generation that gives us. And then speaking another language, you already know when we translate the language, you always lose like part of the translation is always non-accurate.
That
Yeah.
goes to a part of the grand deception of the biblical. Christianity was the first religion. It's only three religions, and they all monotheistic Judeo-Christian religions, and that's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam.
Hmm.
And that's the order that they was presented to the public. Judaism is not older than Christianity. It was the convenient backstory for the rebels who didn't want to go with the story as it was given. Right? So if you go back to the time frame of the life of the so-called character they call Jesus, right? And they say he existed between 3 AD and 37 AD or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now at that time, who was ruling in Egypt?
Pharaoh?
Cleopatra.
You're right. You're right.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Where's Cleopatra's tomb? Okay, let me put this another way. When the woman is in charge of the governments of Egypt, what was she called by the people of the land?
I don't know.
She was called by two terms. She was either referred to as Aset
Yes.
or Marie.
Yes.
In English, it would be Isis or Mary.
Yes. Because Mary was
Hail
the
Mary,
replacement of
Mother
that.
of God.
Yes. Yes.
How in the hell is you the mother of God and you ain't God?
Mm.
You can't birth something greater
You
than
can
you.
birth God if you're not a God yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only goddess can birth a God. Yes.
Right. So now, if you go back to the contemporary time and you look at the other events of the era that we given along with this doctrine, you're going to notice that Cleopatra was said to be, she was supposed to die in her maiden chamber at the, by death adder. Now, also in that time, you had two warring factions of priests that started the war started in the reign of King Tut, which made him have to be ushered into hiding. And these warring priest factions was called Amun priests and Atian priests. The ideology difference is the Amun priests said, conceal your inner light. Do not let the world know of your divinity. Right? Pretend to be like everybody else and live high on the hog. The Atian priest was like, no, if you got the God gene and you got the God power, shine your light into the world. Remember this parable about the candle under the basket?
Yes. Yes.
Right? And then he say, when these two eyes become one, and then you become the light of the world. Gerald Massey wrote the book Ancient Egypt, Light of the World.
Yes, yes.
Okay, now when we looking at Cleopatra, they saying she died in her maiden chamber at the hands of the adder, but they don't have her tomb.
They
They don't have
don't.
her grave site.
They
They don't know
don't.
where she went. She disappeared from the face of the earth 3 days after she died. Do the
Until
math.
you asked that question, I had no clue. I always thought it was there, but no, we have no reference to it ever.
So Cleopatra is actually a confusion of terms. And it's supposed to, if you look at it Masonically, it literally says see Leo the panther. This makes you addicted to the cat. You become a cataholic. A cataholic is a Catholic. The Pope sits under the sacerdotal seat, but the sacerdotal seat is the seat of Vatica, the goddess, who was called Vatica in Greek, but she was called Auset in the Kemetic language.
Yeah.
Right? Jacob is the underminer. The Pope sits under her seat. Let's do the math. The math be mathing if you know how to, if you know all of the equations.
Y'all.
Okay, now Cleopatra mysteriously disappeared. You go to Australia now, because in Australia there's a legend about a woman came from Egypt running from assassins across the Queen's land. The same imagery that they drew in their petroglyphs on their stones was a woman holding a baby that looked just like the Black Madonna and Child. So
Oh my God.
they used, okay, go to the movie The Serpent and the Rainbow for the reference for what I'm about to tell you next.
Okay.
The
Everyone,
priesthood
everyone
knew
gets
how to sedate you where you have no vitals,
yeah, with
right?
the dust, that magic, the dust.
Mm-hmm. So they need to get Cleopatra from under the Roman rulership. The only way to get her out of there is to feign her death.
So you're saying Cleopatra faked her death and was relocated?
Yeah. When she left Australia, she sailed to South America and they migrated all the way up into North America. The tribes was concealing them the whole way. This is your Sun Wukong's journey to the west. Nazca lines are eagle and the monkey, the phoenix and the monkey. How is Sun Wukong supposed to get to the west from India and Africa in the way? Now, we know this to be valid because
I gotta take a deep breath. Like you're blowing my mind, and I'm just like my brain is like tweaking. Hold on, Rod. You can't deliver information like listen. Hold the hold the monkey. Hold on. Let me take a deep breath. Y'all, I hope y'all ready. I hope you got like listen. You have me in such a state of like mental, intellectual euphoria. I'm bugging out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Okay. I think I'm there. Go ahead, Rod. Go ahead.
okay, so now and what we know today is the Grand Canyon has the oldest sacerdotal seats of the earth.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. And we
Temple
just,
of Isis, Temple of Tahuti.
yes.
Now, there has to be a way where the ancestors leave us to reclaim everything. We call it the redemption process. How do you get from under admiralty jurisdiction and get back to the jurisdiction of the land? That's the great dilemma that we in, because everybody from your militia, Montana militia, to your Archway law, to your sovereign citizens to your Moorish paradigm. They all trying to get from under Admiralty jurisdiction, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They keep using the Admiralty rulings in order to try to force them to acknowledge their own rules.
Yes.
They
Yes.
don't acknowledge their rules when it apply to us.
Not at all. Not at
They
all.
only acknowledge them when it's to their benefit. That's why you have so many innocent people in prison. They don't care nothing about you screaming innocent. They don't care. I don't mean nothing to them. Everybody innocent according to them. That's what they tell you. Everybody in prison say they innocent. I ain't tell nobody that BS. I was guilty of sin. But I had a valid reason though. But I didn't never tell them. So they didn't never know. Right? So in the challenge to Admiralty jurisdiction, you have to go back to your own cultural, historical record of oral tradition. In modern law tells you the parameters for what you call a oral law enforcement. It has to be in the public domain in a timestamp archivable format. Social media meets the criteria for public notice.
Sure. Sure.
The next thing you have to know in your public notices is who did it? The dirty Moors. Where they come from? Europe. They got exiled, kicked out, came over here. Under the who told them to come over here? It was the discovery doctrine of the Pope and the papal bulls of the several popes before that. Right? Okay, so now we know who did it and where they came from and who sent them. Why did they come over here? Because when they brought them to the earth, wherever the hell they came from, other dimension, other planet, other somewhere, they didn't have a home nowhere on the planet.
No.
Okay, now that brings about a question that any sane person would ask. Well, where the hell they come from and how did God create somebody that don't got a homeland? We had a homeland. They want our homeland.
I have some theories to that, but you know.
Right. So now we hear about the Jewish God telling them he promised them a homeland. Mm-hmm. But if he's a righteous God, he doesn't have to take anything from anybody to give his people a homeland. He would have created them where they're supposed to be and left them there.
Well, that's what the Orthodoxy, a segue of the Orthodoxy Hasidite community believe, that they aren't supposed to go to Israel. They're supposed to roam until such time.
Okay, now that takes you to the book of Job. Where comest thou, Satan? The sons of God came to prostrate before the Lord. And Satan came also among them. And the Lord said to Satan, where comest thou? And Satan said, from roaming to and forth, up and down, back and forth in the earth. Nomads. No homeland. Right? So if they don't got no homeland and Satan don't got no homeland and Satan is promising everything to Christ from the hill, remember? Yeah. And the Christ was like, how the hell you gonna promise me this? You can't give me nothing. My Father gives me everything. Right? Remember?
I do.
And he would refuse to bow down before Satan. Well, who the hell is Satan?
Who is Satan?
So Satan is an Egyptian word. It's two words, and they've been the positioning of the words was changed for the purposes of translation.
Absolutely.
The letters EN means literally Lord. Mm-hmm. Lord Set is Satan, the one who slew his brother in order to take his throne.
That's right.
All that sound familiar. Them sibling rivalries from Cain and Abel to Jacob and Esau, to Set and Osiris, to Enki and Enlil. The same story keep repeating.
It's the same. It's zeitgeist. It's the same story over and over. Repeating. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Now it's seasoned like a good cooked meal with the culture of the local people. If the local people believe something, they will adapt that same storyline
To fit their narrative and their
to
culture.
fit their culture.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
now understanding that, when you're looking at it from that lens, you start to see that we had a savior story over here. It's called Popol Vuh. But we didn't have no brother sibling rivalry over here.
No, no, it wasn't a story in the lexicon of any of the natives here. No.
Right. Because now that they've been over here, they got something called, I think it's called the Panapi Bible or the Lenape Bible, where they said that they killed Jesus and they wasn't never even over there in the Middle East.
Mm,
They had to change the narrative because they said, so you people killed your God and you want us to follow your God after y'all killed him.
mhm.
We don't ascribe. But
No,
when the translators retranslated it, it said that the Lenape killed Jesus.
they'll just
Yes.
change it to fit the narrative of the culture and
Right.
the land map wherever they're
And,
living.
and we have what you call modern paradigms to show us the historical repeat. Example, when they came over here and set up America, they set up what's called an interim government. It was a wartime interim government. The modern example is the Gulf War after 9/11 when they put Muhammad Karzai in power. That's the same thing they did to Adam Weishaupt, and they called his name George Washington.
Okay.
So the stories, they all scramble like eggs. It's like unscrambling an egg. It's almost impossible, but it's not. Right? Now, when you're looking at the understanding of a interim government, then you will realize why the police is an occupying foreign military power masquerading as serving and protecting the people of the land when they charter and they instructions come from the
Cool.
Crown of England in
That's
London.
right. Yes. Sure.
Hold on 1 second.
Take your time. All right, is everybody enjoying this? My mind is blown, like little pieces of the puzzle putting together. Yeah. I'm not as biblically sound, but little things that I know, and you're putting that together, cinching in bits of information that had no place, that now have a place, can house somewhere that I didn't have an understanding of.
Yeah. So the first gods that was creating people was women by parthenogenesis,
Absolutely. And still to
right?
this day, there are women who still participate based on genetics and some environmental factors, can still give birth through parthenogenesis. Not very often, but occasionally you'll get it.
It happens more than we possibly could imagine.
More than they'll report.
Yeah, sometimes you will have a child and the girl be only been with one man the last 5 years, right? She have a baby, but the DNA don't match.
That's right.
Because
Absolutely.
the woman, all of the people that she dated before that she had sex with, she have their genetic data in the queen's chamber of our brain.
We keep all DNA. We keep it and we source it. And what's interesting about that is that most women, and this is not, we're not medical, we're not doctors. I have to say that this is, quack quack. But, when we talk about fibroids and the people who have the most fibrotic kind of symptoms or have that in their body tend to be melanated women. Those are the original women that were able to give birth through the process of parthenogenesis. So with some of the things that they give people at birth, I personally, as someone who worked in genetics, think it's something that was meant to stop and hold that process of being able to birth ourselves.
It's totally possible because the fibroids is normally the side effect of an acute toxin buildup around the uterine area.
Mhm, mhm.
So when the body try to stop a toxin, it normally encapsulated in a pus ball, and over time the pus ball turns into a tumor
Does. It does.
because
But
it's
sometimes
steady
it's hair and
sending.
teeth, hair, teeth, nails, reminiscent
Yeah.
of a little being. Yeah,
And so you don't know that a woman can have a man in front of her and he got missing qualities genetically that she want to produce. So she go into the queen's chamber in her brain, pull out
and
her
build him.
library of DNA,
That's right.
and use him as the outline, and then she fill in the template.
She colors in the lines. Yeah,
Yep, that's
I think so.
mitochondrial power at work.
Absolutely. And this is also why back in the days, kings and other men only wanted virgins because they overstood and understood that if they weren't the first to participate with this young lady, most likely she was stockpiling DNA from previous lovers. Yes,
Yep, and that's why the virgin has been revered so greatly,
absolutely.
right? And um, most men don't want to take care of another man's child if he could have his own.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And that's social engineering as well, because if you go to the gorilla clan, look at a tribe of gorillas, right?
Hmm.
The silverback, he ain't the father of all of the children in the clan,
No, no, he
but
isn't.
he will give you the same amount of the business about one of the ones that ain't his as he give you about his,
That is true. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So this is why the gorilla totem is a powerful totem for an aspiring father to be associated with, because he's going, if he accept that woman and she got babies, them his,
that's right.
because
Yeah,
he gonna give you the same amount of the business about the ones that he taking care of as the ones he produced.
that's right.
He's not gonna discriminate. He gonna f you up about all of them,
That's right.
right? And that protective instinct is a father's instinct that matches the mama bear. Like, people don't understand that women have uh, the ability to use the laws of nature to her advantage to protect her children, right? When you look at the mama bear as the prime example of what I'm talking about, she can be 150, 200 pounds smaller than a big male bear.
Hmm.
She can't beat him if she ain't got no babies. He'll run her away
Hmm.
if she ain't got no babies. But if she got some babies,
Oh, she'll bring
she's
it to him.
activating multiple laws of nature simultaneously. Her
Mm.
ferocity is unmatched,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
right? And then she got him on the run. She'll run off a whole pack of wolves about her babies
She will. She
by
will.
herself,
Hmm.
right? That's the woman in Shakti mode, in Kali Ma
Hmm.
mode, in Sekhmet mode.
That's right.
The
Taking
goal
heads.
is for a man to come into a woman's life that's in that mode and take her from Sekhmet to Bast, or to Isis, or to Venus, or to Oshun.
Yeah,
He don't want her to come in with that war energy, because now he at war in his own home, and he
yeah.
don't even know why. Because I don't know what your linguistic restrictions is, but she see you as a bitch ass nigga, and since she see you as a bitch ass nigga, she can't boss up or relax, create the feng
I
shui,
agree. I agree.
the heaven at home, because she don't know if
He's
somebody
not.
come crawling in the window at night, do she got to go confront the enemy?
Yes, exactly.
Because his
Debatable.
bitch ass might be behind the bed hiding.
That's right. Or screaming, running. You've seen it like,
All that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now they make parodies out of it and they turn it into comedy so
They
it'll
do.
seem somewhat normal.
Yeah, they're normalizing it. Men running away, running in front of the women, leaving the women vulnerable to whatever comes, to attack them.
That's not, and under the matriarchy, it's zero tolerance for bitch assness in men.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
That's not tolerated under matriarchy. But when you being governed and ruled, and your future is dictated by homosexual pedophile priest cults, they want to effeminize the man to hypermasculize the women so that we will slow down our reproductive rate, so that
Absolutely.
they can control our baby producing abilities.
Hmm. And they're doing well, it's really affecting many other. They thought it wouldn't affect the birth rates of others, but it's affecting, you know, other people are having zero birth rate now
We baby
because of that.
kids.
Hmm?
We baby kids.
Yeah,
Th-
we don't
This
die,
is the
we
thing that they
multiply.
found out during the last 500 years that they didn't believe was true.
Hmm.
The harder you oppress us, the more we proliferate.
Oh, absolutely. As a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Anywhere where you have mothers that have the most amount of poverty, and you see it in places like South America and Africa, where there's the most amount of poverty and adversity, you'll see a multiple births coming out of that to give her more of a chance of survival and for her bloodline to be able to have some form of satisfaction, whether it's one or two. So you'll give birth to 10 if you have a higher mortality rate, just to give you a chance to progress your.
If you go back to the 70s and the 60s, they was trying to encourage what they called the four family household. A man, a woman, a boy, and a girl. Don't want you to have no more than two children.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And they use that as a standard in the wealthy community
Of
and
course.
the ones that were so-called privileged,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's so that they can say the reason that I'm poor is because I got all these babies,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Which is not true.
No.
The
Tribal children
wealth,
always were assigned and build wealth. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
So the large families are the ones who have the most capability of overcoming the oppression because one of them in that family is going to see something that the rest of them not going to see.
that's right.
So our women was having 12, 13, 15, 18, 20, sometimes 30 kids,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And
That's what
don't
they
mention the
put
fathers,
Planned. That's what Planned Parenthood was for, and kids
right?
in the
That was
hood.
to slow down, trying to stop baby kids because they
Hmm.
can't stop us.
We gonna have babies until we die,
Yeah,
and that's what we were supposed to do. Reproduce, and that's part of being fruitful, right?
yeah. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth.
Absolutely, yeah.
How can you
And
replenish something that don't have nobody here?
it's true, and also,
Replenish means to fill it back up. It's been depleted,
yeah, and also that's
right? That's a refill.
absolutely. And also that's why they promote, menopause, pausing on men for many different places from the islands, give birth until darn near they nearly die or kaput.
Mm-hmm.
But they make certain processes that you have to go through, telling women to go get your daily mammogram, and then all of a sudden, oops, oh, your menses is gone. I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, that's chemically induced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest causes of menopause is birth control pills,
Absolutely. And
right?
birth control pills are not only in the pill form, they're in food form too. Remember that.
Yeah. And now it's in the water,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
along with the hormones and all that.
Psychedelic
Uh,
foods, yeah, all that
yeah.
good stuff.
So now you got animals that don't have the level of resistance of a human spontaneously gender transitioning.
Mhm. Started with the frogs first, most sensitive to the environment, right?
Mhm.
Frogs were switching sexual disposition, actually gaining some of the gonads, actually growing wombs because of the exposure in the soil to the lexicon of chemicals that were coming out of the sky via the governmental chemtrails, which are harmless, according to the federal government.
Ever since the first Trump election, they've been spraying stuff to try to clean that up. And this is why you have it looking like rocks falling out the sky.
Mm,
It's binding agents that bind to those chemicals to get them out
mm.
of the air. In some places, your snow, it looked like styrofoam because
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah,
binding agents.
yeah.
In some places, they even literally raining rocks.
Yeah.
Well, all that's the stuff that they using to clean up the chemtrails. Well, we don't know. We out here going about our daily life, la-di-da-di-da. Somebody was terraforming the earth for a new species to inhabit it.
Absolutely. giving us the
Right.
blueprint in social media for us to accept certain types of new physiology, them, they, zer, z, all kinds of new wording to accept a new kind of, geoengineered life form, or
Yeah.
a life form that was being introduced here, like the other life forms that came previously.
Hmm. Yeah. So when we looking at the totality of the picture and we come to now, what's taking place now, based on what historically has happened, they days is up. That's it for them. It's over. Now we seeing the rollout of the ones that's sending these orbs ahead of them before they get here. The government desensitizing the people with drones the size
Absolutely.
of SUVs.
Absolutely.
And you know this because Donald J came on and said they know exactly where they at. If they came out of a garage, the military can go
They
right in
know
that
where they,
garage.
absolutely.
They know where they came from. They know where they went. That's the drones, but that ain't the orbs.
But you notice that they purposefully created a new term called UAP to take away
Mm-hmm.
the verbiage UFOs, which is classic. And they
Mm-hmm.
make sure they keep saying drones, but they don't tell you this these light ships, and some are diamond-esque type of macabre looking ships. They don't speak about that, and they don't tell you why there's plasma shooting at the orbs, shooting some of them down. I mean, not the orbs, shooting at the drones, shot a few of them down. Um,
So when you get to the biblical description of the angel and they draw the picture and they give you the Dyson sphere,
mhm,
that's what the orbs are. Those are
absolutely.
satellites. Those are reconnaissance satellites that is sent ahead of the fleets before they get to their destination. Wherever they
Yeah,
coming from, if
they're
they coming
scouts.
from the inner earth, if
Yep.
they coming from a parallel dimension, if they coming from outer space, if they coming from a different time zone, wherever they coming from, they send those orbs, those Dyson spheres, as satellites. And all of those, what appear to be eyes, are just cameras. They give them a 360-degree panoramic view of the layout before they come.
Mhm.
So when they come, they know where they're going. They know what they're
Absolutely.
about to enter into before they get there.
Mhm. And the orbs are actually placed on, we've noticed and documented, they're over every landmass, and it's usually one, if it's a smaller landmass, so you'll see the orbs positioned there. So they're definitely documenting the area and getting a scope of what's going on. And the other places like Jersey, maybe where there's more nuclear facilities and more, that's where the drones are erecting in more masses to try to accommodate and try to, try to cloak the others that are here. Yeah.
So let me point out something since you brought up New Jersey.
Yeah.
Noble Drew Ali went into what's called the Moorish Zionist Jewish temple and discovered the magic that they was using to subjugate the people of the land.
Mm.
He came out of, this was in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey. He came out of the Moorish Zionist temple and established the Moorish Science Temple, right? Because it was a direct confrontation to the Moorish Zionist Jews, right? These Moorish Zionist Jews is niggas.
Which is Sephardic, just FYI. Sometimes they call themselves Sephardic.
The Sephardi are the Spanish converts,
Mhm.
pale skinned Spanish converts.
Mhm.
The original Moorish Zionist Jews was nappy head niggas,
Mhm.
right? And they live across the land in gated communities and they talk about us like a dog, metaphorically speaking.
Mhm.
And they don't like us. And the only time we gonna see them is when it's time for them to send in what we call operatives to interfere with some progressive movement we have.
That's right. And they start working side by side, looking like you, but they're not you.
And they maybe their famous thing is kill Whitey, but we don't know he Whitey until we read Black's Law Fifth Edition, meaning a white free white person in law. It mean a more.
Mm.
So when you read secret relation between blacks and Jews printed by the Nation of Islam research team, you will realize some of the places where these Jews wasn't no pale faces into the 1900s.
Nope. They were all brown.
Then, gotta show you another one.
Yeah.
This book right here is called Empty Wagon.
Empty Wagon.
Huh. This is a pale-faced Jewish rabbi. The subtitles say Zionist Journey from Identity Crisis to Identity Theft.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
The book is about...
What year was it written? What year was it written? Can you see?
Let me look.
I'm sorry, because I went to school with Dr. Jeffries, so I wanted to know.
Dr. Jeffries.
Which is friends with Malachi Z. York, yeah. He was my professor in college.
You mean Dr. Leonard Jeffries?
Yes. Isn't it synchronistic?
Yeah, that's something else. You know, Dr. Bean wrote a book called We the Black Jacobins.
Yes.
Right. So
if you can find the data, don't worry. I'm going to ask you later because I want to find out if it syncs with something else. Yeah.
It's right here in the front of the book. Armament in the dome. Mm-hmm. But it's just a radiation barrier, and the radiation is so thick, as soon as you hit it, it's an instant reaction. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's a light conjure using beams and rays of light at angles and octaves that the Pleiadians is the masters of. Right? And then the Arcturians is giving them an energetic support. So they the ones that got us locked in the matrix to solve the problems of the matrix. So we come in, we like a computer virus repair program into the matrix to repair the damage done in the matrix by a virus. The virus in this case is those who don't belong here. So as the antibodies of Earth, the Earthborn formulate a plan and establish a system in order to reclaim Earth from whatever the threat is. The T cells that organizes the immune responses and tell the white cells what to attack, right? As the foreign agent. Now, the T cells are also called the generals of the immune system. So now we're talking warfare on Earth played out like an antibody response in the body. Comparative analysis, as above, so below, as within, so without. You can see it play out in the stars, on the Earth, or in the body. But you have to know how to read the signs in order to translate it and do the comparative analysis to see two things that you originally thought was totally unrelated was directly connected. Because you didn't know how to flip the mirror and see it. The mirror is where they got us disoriented at. They gave us south and told us it was down, and they gave us north and told us it was up, and it's exactly the opposite. They used the pole shift phenomenon in order to shake us up and confuse us like we spinning on the top. Right? Once you start looking at south as down, your orientation is in the opposite direction of its intended purpose. Right? They want you to keep looking at the sky so you can't never understand what you're seeing on the ground. So you focus on what's in front of you before you start looking up for answers.
And that makes sense, Rod, because they told when these black conquistadors came with they Roman Catholic Christianity, they told us we'll get our pie in the sky. And really our pie is in the reverse. Our pie is really down here, because if we could get our pie in the sky, Why would the Anunnakis come down from the sky, coming down to get some pie? They came here to get the pie. They came here looking for gold. So it makes, and so why we got to go in the sky to get our pie when they came here looking for pie?
It's an inversion. It's an inversion principle, right? If hell is hot, right, and they got you looking for your pie in the sky, they sending you to the sun, right? Because they don't want you to turn back to mama, because she gonna nurture you and nurse you back to health. No matter how old you is or how sick you be, if she here, she gonna nurse you. This goes back to the symbolism of the Black Madonna and child, the mother holding the child, the son. He's the crown prince, and she's the nurturer who's going to nurture him and teach him everything he need to know how to reclaim the throne by learning how to read what his uncle did and what his daddy did and the difference in the two by comparative analysis.
Hey, now that makes sense, because now this is another thing. This probably be off talking, but people was asking questions about this. Some dude was saying about government look like it's still in business. Usually, when we touched on this a little bit about how they using the wag the dog thing at the Tyler Perry studios. Could you talk just a little bit on that? Because I got a whole bunch of questions on that recently, even after we did the show talking about it a little bit. About them doing the reenactment.
If you call somebody in DC that goes down around them buildings and ask them if they all fenced in. They've been fenced in since 2020. They're not using them buildings, and construction's been going on at the Capitol building. So they're not having Senate hearings there. And they have sets, Hollywood sets. You can find these images on Google where you can see through the crack in the wall outside, right? When you look through Joe Biden's window, it's not the scenery that you would see from any of the other White House pictures. It's got props behind it. We gotta pay attention to them little subtleties, tell you that they in studios. They even have video where the camera is drawing back from them and you can see the stage information at the top of the set. They deliberately make those mistakes so they can absolve themselves and say they should have knew it was fake. We gave them every opportunity. We changed Joe Biden at least 12 times in their face and they never noticed it. We've used multiple actors, Jim Carrey, James Woods, Liam Neeson. We didn't use